another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now. Now, I have to tell you, today is really a very, very special day to me. I have someone on this show that just warms my heart. I know I love all my guests, but she is very, very special. Today, I have with me Tiffany Willis, and she's going to take the time to talk to our teenage pregnancy moms and talk about what it really means to overcome. And I guarantee by the end of this episode, you will have nothing but hope and joy and know you too can make it. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Would you please share a little bit about your story with the audience?
Sure. So I grew up all American. My father was in the Air Force and engineer by trade, and my mother was all into community service and spent her life kind of focused on children, at-risk youth, as well as in the foster care system. And so I kind of got my analytical side and the servant leadership side from my parents, and was a all-American kind of typical teenager until I got to high school when everything changed.
And what changed?
Yeah, when I got to high school, I was in the 9th grade and I got pregnant, and that was with my first child. I have 3 in total, but that was my first child. And by default, I ended up dropping out of 9th grade, and my all-American family dreams just became shattered, and my life took a whole different turn.
So your life took a turn, and you're no longer in school, and you're pregnant. Where are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so you have to really pick yourself up from the bootstraps. Where was I at the time? I was homeless, and then I was in a shelter, and you find yourself surrounded by strangers who also have children, sleeping on bunk beds with a new roommate every other night. And you really have to dig deep and say, what do I want for myself? And is this the life I want for myself or my child? And you have to make some really tough decisions.
So what were some of the first decisions that you made? You know, as you found yourself that you're, even when you go to shelters and thank God there was a shelter around, but you go to a shelter and you're staying there. What were some of the basic decisions you had to make at that point, being a mom with a baby?
Yeah, some of the basic decisions are, what am I going to eat? And how am I going to feed myself and feed my child? I think some of those habits that you develop in that time of struggling and that hustle stays with you for life. It wasn't until recently that I started eating pizza because I was so used to feeding my son the pizza and me eating the crust. And so for a long time, even as an adult, I would only eat the crust off a pizza until someone kind of realized that moment and said, why do you do that? But at that time, what do? You're just focused on kind of getting through and how do I feed myself and how do I feed my child?
So were you able to find a job at that point?
No, so I didn't find a job in 9th grade. What I ended up doing was finding some comfort in sleeping on a friend's couch. And through sleeping on a friend's couch, I was able to get back into school, and I went to an alternative high school where I would take my son with me every day to school. So a bus would not only pick myself up with my book bag, but I had a diaper bag and a car seat to kind of go along with it. And that's how I really finished high school, was through this alternative high school.
Wow. So there really is a need for these alternative high schools, and they do serve a purpose.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that we all need to understand. I know there's a lot of stigma that goes with alternative high schools. There's a lot of stigma that happens, with the education. Oh, they're not getting it. They're not as smart, etc. But, I think that you're an example that shows how you go through an alternative high school and still make it. So once you graduated, what did you do?
Yeah, so once I graduated, I actually started my collegiate studies in the community college, graduated with my associates, and then decided, I want to do more. And so I always had this envision of wanting to be in the corner office, wanting to give back to the community, whether that was at the time through like corporate responsibility or something of that nature. I wanted to make sure that I helped other people that were at-risk youth. And so through my collegiate studies, I then went on to get my bachelor's. It was in accounting. And then went on to get my master's here locally at Emory University. And even after Emory, went on to the Ivy League Wharton Business School and graduated from there.
Okay, so I want to take a pause right here. I want you all to hear this story. You're talking about someone that was a teenage mom, that statistics, and they always say, oh, you're not going to be anything. Did you hear the words that she went to Wharton? Did you hear that? Did you hear that she continued her studies and never gave up? What gave you the courage to do that?
Yeah, I felt like I had to make an example of myself because I was being used as an example, right? And as you say, a statistic. And I remember when I had my son, they said you would have your second child before 18 and you'll only be on welfare and the closest you'll ever get to your dreams are in your sleep. And so I felt like if someone was going to use me as an example, I had to own what that example would be. And I call it owning my narrative. And so that's really what I've done, is to make sure that I can show others, if I can do it, you can do it too.
I think that's a powerful statement. And people say it's cliche, but the fact that you're showing hope to so many others. I mean, just breathe in for a minute. I was homeless, no place to go. I went to a shelter. I got, on a friend's couch. I got my degrees, and then I moved on. That's just gotta feel like $1 million. I know it gives me chills. We're gonna take a station break, and when we come back, we're gonna hear some more about Tiffany's story.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
Welcome back. Tiffany, I'm so touched. And I'm touched because you had to be going through a lot of emotions during this time. Before we get into where you are professionally today, which is astounding within itself, what kind of feelings were you going through? How did you deal with your emotions during this time period as you're moving along this journey? How did you keep hope alive? What kept you going? What was the drive?
Yeah, for me, it was really a matter of having someone else that depended on me and looked up to me. And I really didn't have a choice. I think when you're at the bottom, you have nowhere to go but up. And so that really is what fueled me. It was really a matter of I don't have any other options, right? If I do nothing, then here I am staying on welfare and breathing that energy into the statistic that they told me, which was I would always be on welfare. And I was grateful for that $316 per month, $158 every 2 weeks, but I needed more. And so having someone depend on me, I knew I just had to push through. So you get that energy and you get that hope when that's the only thing that's out there left.
Wow. So when you got ready to go to school, we always talk about getting care for our kids and all of that. How did you manage some of those things during that time period?
Yeah. So when I went to school, my son was in daycare. So when I went through high school, he went to school with me. And then when I went to college, he was in, you call it like pre-K and things of that nature. And, being on government assistance, you get help and financial assistance and paying for those bills. So I was extremely grateful. And then as I just continued, I always found programs. I was always very much into research. If there was a program out there, I was finding it. If there was something that I qualified for, I was getting it. And I was just very relentless in my quest to better myself. And I wasn't going to let anything get in my way. And I think you make a decision if you're going to find an excuse or if you're going to find a way around it.
And I think what you said is so important. Research, research, research. You never just let it be that, oh, I can't. You always found a way. And I think that's so powerful and beautiful, in terms of giving others that same hope. There is a way, but it's working through the process to get there. Okay, so let's get on to the fact that, all right, you have these degrees, you're going to your professional job, and you're working. How does it feel?
It feels good. It feels good.
So did you start in accounting?
Yes. So started in accounting. I'm a CPA by background. So I started in Big Four. Spent about 7 years in Big Four and then continued into the media entertainment space for about 10 years. And then I worked my way up through corporate America to where I am now at Starbucks.
Wow. Now, wait a minute. She's being humble here. So what do you do at Starbucks?
I am the vice president and head of investor relations for Starbucks. So my day-to-day job is I talk to Wall Street and I manage $100 billion in market cap for Starbucks.
Okay, I need you to repeat that for the audience again. Can you say that one more time?
I manage $100 billion on behalf of Starbucks.
So can you see there is a way? We have examples. She's one of the examples, but there are many, many women who have struggled and struggled and struggled and can say, look from where I started to where I am today. Do you ever think about that?
Just for a second. I think I'm just on this mission and I'm on this quest, and I don't feel like I've made it yet. Some of my time, even as Miss Georgia, was being an example for our youth, and I'm not done until I get to the corner office. My career goal is to be CEO, and every single day I'm marching towards it. So I can't really sit and celebrate my success yet because I feel like I'm not there. Oh,
wait a minute. No, honey. Hold on. We have got to celebrate every success we get. I applaud the desire to want to get to that corner office and to keep the eye on the prize. But you got to celebrate your milestones because you have come a mighty, mighty long way. You have done a lot. You have done what society said you never could do, and you made it. You made it. You've done it. So you will get to that corner office, and then we're really going to go out and celebrate when you get to that corner office, because I too agree that day will come. It will happen, and you will do that. So as as we talk about, so you went through your profession and you have a very, very good job now, and you continue to want to give back, and that you are passionate about helping others, and helping them to go forward. What are some of the things that you enjoy doing that also fills your heart from where you were, but allows you to help somebody today?
Yeah, so some of the things I enjoy is really just pouring into others that are in situations similar to what I encountered. I want people to see that I am them and they are me. And my whole mission right now, I think in life outside of kind of the corporate boardroom, is seeing the unseen, right? Whether that is the teenage mom, whether it's the high school dropout, whether it's someone that's coming through the prison system and trying to re-enter into the mainstream society, but really spending my time and energy on seeing the unseen and making a difference and giving them hope.
It warms my heart to hear that. And, you're living that dream and you're doing that. We're going to take a station break. When we come back, we're going to see if we have a question or a comment from the audience.
Every story has a hidden element that is not often shared. Hidden Stories, Healed Now, with host Vicki Wright Hamilton, seeks to share the hidden gems in real-life experiences. Our guests are ordinary people sharing their stories of overcoming insurmountable odds while providing hope and inspiration.
Welcome back. As you can see, we have a very, very inspiring story today, and I just hope that you're listening to all of the nuggets, all the things that can help you to move forward. When you're a teenage mom, a single mom, when you're struggling, when you're trying to get from point A to point B. And I tell you, this is truly a testimony. It's a testimony that, when you hear it, it's like, oh my gosh, there's just so much to be proud of, and she's not done yet. She's only just beginning. She's not done yet. So, Tiffany, as you have moved up, and you said you have 3 children now, and you're moving forward and all of that, how do you manage all of the community things you want to do, the corporate things you want to do? How do you combine those? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, for me, it's all about integration, right? It's so much, and it's pulling at any one person all the time. And so I try and integrate my life, whether it's doing community service. I take my children with me. When my kids come home from school and I'm on Zoom and Teams calls, they kind of pop in and say hello to my boss or whoever else may be on that call. And my leadership team knows that sometimes I might take a break for 10 minutes to put something in the oven and pop right back. And being here today, I bring my children with me. So for me, it's all about integration. There's so much that I'm trying to do. And so the only way to make it all work is to integrate it all.
Wow. Wow. And I think that's a lot when you say as you're integrating it and making it happen, you're finding ways. And I'm sure your children are learning a lot. They're being exposed to a lot. You're exposing them to things that they may not have seen before, they may not have been a part of. And I think that that's so important as we're getting our children, to appreciate what they have as they move up and never to forget, right? And to forget to give back. I think that's so important. So let's see if we have a question or a comment from the audience.
So what would you tell a young teenage girl right now that's in a situation of trying to reach her goals and her dreams, especially with the world as it is today? Everybody wants things quickly, and in a hurry, and then with all the other influential, things and people in the world.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the one thing I would tell young girls is really own your narrative, right? And think about what you want to do in life and think about what that looks like, smells like, feels like. And I always tell people kind of in the college age group, but to write their bio of their future self. And what would that bio look like? And so to young girls, to put it in their terms, if you were on the cover of a magazine, what would that article inside that magazine read? What would it say about you? What did you do? What was the impression that you left on people? What are some of the things you accomplished? What organizations were you involved in? Would it talk about your dog, your cat? And so think about what you want that article to say about you, and then start walking the walk to make that article real.
I think that's great advice. Let me ask you one question, Tiffany. Was there ever a time that you felt like I don't fit, or I can't make it, or I don't deserve this, or I can't be here?
Oh, absolutely. I feel it all the time. Walking into a boardroom and I have the iconic founder and CEO, Howard Schultz of Starbucks, sitting at the head of a boardroom table. And you look around the room and it's all these executives and no one really looks like me. And so here I'm younger, I'm a shade darker. And you start to get that imposter syndrome where, do I really belong here? Am I smart enough? Should I really ask a question? Is it a dumb question? How do they really see me? And then, you just get that courage and you get it in your gut and you're like, I deserve to be here. What's the worst that can happen? And I think coming from those homeless shelters on bunk beds, you realize that you're going to do any and everything you can not to ever experience those bunk beds again. And so I just get the courage in that moment to kind of push those imposter syndrome voices to the side and push through it.
That's amazing, because even when, you haven't even had some of those experiences, we go through this thing of, am I supposed to be here? How am I at this table and someone else isn't? How did I make it and they didn't? How is it that, do I have the smarts to do this? Do I have the ability to change, to make it happen? But to be at that table, where no one looks like you, and to be as young as you are, and to have the experiences that you do, and to impact this company the way you do. It's more than just an imposter syndrome. It's more of, you did it. You're doing it, right? You're making it happen. And it's that realization that, yes, I did it. Yes, I'm doing it. Yes, I'm impacting, but keeping yourself humble, and keeping yourself humble that, I can still learn more. I can still grow. I can still do more. And I think it's incredible how you have taken those negative thoughts, those things that somebody said I can't do, and used it for energy to say, watch me and what I will do. That's powerful. That is powerful. So I think, audience, as you're listening today, don't let anyone tell you what you can and you cannot do. Put in your mind and in your heart This is my passion. This is my road, and this is what I am going to do. I will achieve what I need to do, and I will make it. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, but I will get there. And I think if we take the time to go through the journey and the process, there is a learning through every step of that journey and process. There is a learning to have. And as you learn them, as you grow and you develop, and even when you have that first attempt in learning and you brush your knees off and you get back up again, there's still hope. I hope that all of you are just as inspired as I am today. Can you join me in thanking my guest, Tiffany Willis, for being here? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, thank you for joining us on another episode of Hidden Stories Healed Now. As you can see, we're all about joy and hope. I look forward to seeing you next time. See you soon.